Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Discraft Challenger, one of the most popular putters in Discraft's lineup, minus the Luna, of course. And after both throwing and putting with the Challenger, I can see why it was the gold standard of putters for Discraft for such a very long time. So let's go ahead, kick things off by taking a look at the profile. So it does have a very blunt nose, which is why it's only a speed 2, and a pretty high shoulder. But even with that high shoulder, it is very flat on the flight plate, so it's not very shallow, but at the same time, it's not very deep. It's kind of that Goldilocks right in between, which personally for me, as a player with smaller hands, it actually feels very comfortable, both for throwing, but also for putting. I will say, however, that is really only for the baseline plastics, as in premium plastics, it does feel quite a bit deeper, and for those of you who are interested, this is a beaded putter. Alright, so I like the feel in the hand, but how does the Challenger fly? As you're seeing here, I will say this is a very neutral flying putter. If you put it on the hyzer, it's going to hold the arcing hyzer line and keep with a nice forward penetrating finish. If you throw it flat, you'll get a little bit of turn, but it will try to fight its way back at the very end. And then when you put it on a slight and hyzer line, it's going to hold that line. Again, very neutral flying disc. Perfect disc for really any situation. Now, in extreme headwinds, yes, it's going to hold a turn pretty much all the way to the ground, maybe even turn into an in-so-down roller. However, calm, mild winds, it really is a do-everything putter. So if you play on courses that are very wooded, this is going to be perfect for shaping those shots between the trees or hitting those tight gaps. But then also for those wide open courses, this is just going to be a really good point and shoot. Just throw the disc at the basket and watch mesmerize as it majestically will glide right to the basket. If I had to pick a putter out of Discraft's lineup for a one-disc round, then the Challenger would probably be topping that list along with the Roach. I just feel this has maybe a little bit more late stability, a little more fight than a Roach, but they're both very, very neutral. However, we've seen how it flies. How does it putt? And as you can see with my wobbly form, it's a disc you can just put right on the pole and it's just going to stay there. It doesn't matter if you're inside the circle or outside the circle, just put it on the pole and just watch it glide dead straight, because even with putting, it does have great glide to give you a little bit extra distance. Now, when it comes to the plastics, the Challenger's been around for a while, so it comes in a wide variety of plastic types, and I was able to get my hand on a few of them. If you're looking for one with a much harsher finish, you're going to want to go with the crystal, but surprisingly enough, it doesn't hold torque very well. Now, the straightest is going to be the Crazy Tough. It just kind of stays on a straight line, very little turn and very little fade, versus the most understable is going to be the Jawbreaker. It's going to break in very quickly like the baseline plastics, but it just naturally doesn't have nearly as much fight back that other plastics of the Challenger have. So let's go ahead and get a visual for how these different plastic types stack up to each other. When compared to the putter line, you can see how the Jawbreaker, it does want to fight towards the very end of the flight, but it has quite a bit more turn in the mid-flight than, say, the regular putter line, versus the Crazy Tough. You can just see how it just kind of falls nice and flat. It really doesn't want to fade whatsoever, unlike then the ESP, which is one of the more overstable and probably the most torque resistant. It doesn't have the most fade, but it has the most torque resistant of the plastic types that I threw. The Crystal has the most harshest finish at the end, but like the regular putter line, the Crystal really mirrors the first 2/3 to 3/4 of the flight, and then as it gets onto its edge and starts to really hyzer, that's where it just likes to dump and crash. Now again, I think in the wind, you're going to want to be using the ESP because it is the most torque resistant. However, it'll probably just go very, very straight, very subtle fade at the end, versus if you are throwing into a wind and you want something that's going to hyzer, the Crystal is a good option if you can get it. However, you'll probably have to start it on a hyzer because it doesn't have quite as much torque resistance, but it will have a harsher finish. So if you can keep it on a hyzer in the wind, you're gonna get that fade as you're seeing here. Overall, I can see why people have liked the Challenger for so long. It is such a do-everything putter. It putts extremely well, it putts very straight, has good glide both throwing and putting, which is why even with the explosion of the Luna, I can understand why the pros continue to lean on the Challenger. Alright everyone, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. As always, please subscribe, smash that like button. Till next time, keep banging them chains.